Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to take a look at a power supply from our friends over at Deepcool. This is the PL750D. This is an ATX 3.1 PCI Express Gen5.1 compatible power supply. So this is the latest specs, the latest technology, and it's very cheap. So at the moment here in the UK, I'll get this out of the way straight away because this is actually what I feel is incredibly good value for money. So the estimated retail price for this is supposed to be £59.99. Currently over at CCL here in the UK, it's on for £49.99. And best of all, at the moment, there is actually an offer code, which I'll be posting on our Discord as well. So if you're one of those people that kind of watches these videos late and don't get the latest deals, make sure you're in our Discord and it will be posted in the bargains no chat section. So there's basically a discount code taking another £10 off of the already great price. So this brings it down to £39.99. Now this is for a Cybenetics Silver Rated power supply. It also meets the 80 plus bronze standard, which again is really not great, but look at the price. £39.99 if you get it at the deal price. I think this is spectacular value for money. Now there are some downsides, so let's not get too carried away. It is a fully captive power supply, so all the cables are firmly attached. You cannot remove them, so if you wanted a modular power supply, then you're probably better off looking elsewhere. But I think for the value and also the fact that this power supply can do up to 200% of its maximum rated voltage for those brief excursions, I think this is a cracking value for £39.99. Now this effectively would be kind of like a C-tier power supply, so useful for systems up to around about £1,000 worth. But it does also have that PCI Express 5 connector for a graphics card. So if maybe you're buying a slightly or building a slightly lower end system, and you're thinking, what power supply can I get which is good value for money, it's got all the specs and isn't going to set fire to my rig, this is actually a pretty decent choice. And also something which I haven't mentioned is it has got Chain X caps, which are pretty much okay, 105C rated for the main caps, and there's a full breakdown actually of this particular power supply over on Hardware Busters, so I'll put a link in the video description so you can check out what they thought of it. And actually they thought it was pretty good, and it actually made their list of top power supplies. So despite its price, and despite the fact that you think, okay, maybe it's not great, it actually is quite recommended, especially within the industry. Now, I don't have the sort of technology to test these power supplies, so I, like you, generally go out, scour the internet, looking at reviews and all that kind of stuff to make my buying decisions. So this video really is just to reinforce that and suggest to you a power supply which actually makes a lot of sense, especially for those lower end builds. And if that isn't enough to possibly twist your arm to possibly get a Deepcool power supply, this is actually backed up with a 5-year warranty. Show me another power supply which is 750 watts, which is ATX 3.1, PCI Express Gen5.1, 5-year warranty for under £40. You won't find one. This is absolutely crazy value for money, it really is. So yeah, I'm a little bit blown away by this. I know it's not really the sort of thing to get excited by, but if you're like me, someone who likes building cheaper PCs and flipping PCs, but you don't want to sell it with the absolute death trap of a power supply, again, I think this is pretty much worth a look. And if you want one with a slightly different wattage, higher or lower, there's about 4 or 5 different models in the PL range, so there's potentially going to be something for everyone. Now, obviously, I can't guarantee there's going to be such great prices for the other ones, but this specific one at the moment, I think, is cracking value for money. So taking a look at the packaging, this is pretty typical stuff from Deepcool. So it's the PL750D, as we've already said, native ATX 3.1 direct power supply, also supporting PCI Express Gen5.1, 80 plus bronze, as we've said, and also Cybenetics Silver Rated, and we've also got that 5-year warranty. So what's actually included in the box? Obviously, power supply itself and all of its associated cabling, which we'll take a closer look at shortly. Also, something which isn't always a given these days is the fact it does actually come with a localized power cable. So this one comes with the 3-pin UK power plug. Obviously, depending where you're buying it from, you will have the appropriate one for your region. So that's nice. You also get some screws to attach it to your PC case, which again, isn't always included. And you get some support information and also a user guide. So let's take a close look at the power supply and its associated cabling, and we'll give you some cable lengths as well. So if you're maybe thinking of a specific build and you want to know the lengths of the cables, don't worry, we've got you covered. So power supply itself, this is 150 by 140 mil, so pretty short. So even in smaller chassis, shouldn't take up a great deal of room. 120 mil fan in there, This fan isn't one of those kind of zero technology ones, so it does spin all the time. It's not overly loud. It isn't the quietest I've ever heard. Certainly if you put it into a PC, you're not really going to hear it above case fans and things like that, but if you're looking for absolute silence, you might want to look elsewhere, because this has some noise to it, which I think is actually primarily due to the way that they've got this grille. So I've actually done some testing just behind the scenes. It's difficult for me to actually do this with the microphones and actually let you hear it. But certainly if there's anything close to the grille, it actually does change the noise profile and gets a little bit louder. In an open environment, it's absolutely fine. So if you're putting it into a PC case, you're maybe mounting it upside down and there's a little bit of room above it, it's going to be absolutely fine. But if you're mounting it face down and it's right up against something, you may hear some reverberations of sound coming from the fan. Again, it isn't horrible, but it is a little louder than some others I've used, and the others I've used have been significantly more expensive, so I guess there's the pros and cons there. Overall, I think the power supply looks really nice. I do like the design, the kind of square cutouts there look really nice, and also, even though it is very budget orientated, you do have some sort of design ethics, little flashes of colour, the Deepcool logo on the fan blades. Also on the side, you've got the Deepcool logo embossed on both sides, and also on the back where you've got your power input. Again, you've got the square design there, and also you've got a Deepcool themed power switch, which is coloured in that kind of teal colour. I think green, teal, whatever it is. It's a greeny colour, but yeah, I kind of like that. It makes it stand out from the crowd a little bit more. In terms of the design as well, quite nicely rounded over. There's no sharp edges or anything, so that's all pretty nice. On the back, there is a label giving you all the specifications there. So because this is a 750 watt power supply, you got 62.5 amps on the 12 volt rail. So that gives you your full 750 watts, which again, isn't always a given at this kind of price point. Quite often manufacturers will combine outlets to give you the maximum voltage across all of the rails. Whereas with this, they've kind of stuck to their guns, 12 volt rail, 62.5 amps, giving you 750 watts. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at some of the cables, of which there are many. So let's have a quick breakdown. There's a little bit of a mess here, so do bear with me. So our main 24-pin power connector going into your motherboard. This one comes in at 560 millimeters. So that's pretty nice, and also it's a slimline cabling as well, so pretty easy to cable manage. Next up, we've got our EPS connectors, or your additional 12 volt power going to the motherboard. These are the ones that go in the top corner of your motherboard. So you've actually got two of these as well, which is good. And also they are the ones which can be split. So either 4 or 8 pin connections, two separate cables. Again, this is great for a budget power supply. And also again, nice flat cables. But the best thing of all is the fact that these are actually super long. So these are coming in at 735 millimeters in length. More times than not, power supplies generally come with like 600, maybe 650. I've seen one or two around about 700 mil, but this is 735 millimeters. So these are absolutely huge. Perfect for Lian Li cases where you've got to route them around the top a little bit more. So yeah, excellent. And also there's two of them, so that is great. Next up, we've got our PCI Express Gen5.1. So this is rated at 450 watts. So that's going to be absolutely fine. Again, for a modest system, you don't want to be going over that kind of wattage on your graphics card anyway. That's fine. So this is 12 volt 6x2. This one comes in at a length of 580 millimeters. And also there's a little bit of flex there as well. So if you are right up against the glass in some cases, should be absolutely fine. As always, do take your precautions with these types of connectors. Next up, for those of you that aren't going for a PCI Express Gen 5 graphics card, or you're using a graphics card which uses the older PCI Express type connections, so these are the 8 pins or 6+2s. So you've got two cables in total, and one of the cables has a piggyback on it. So you've got a dedicated 8 pin, and you've also got an 8 pin with a supplementary 8 pin. So even if you've got a graphics card which takes 3 connectors, again, this is probably not the power supply to use with that kind of graphics card, but certainly in a pinch, if you have to, then you can get away with it. Also, these are the same length as the PCI Express Gen 5, so these are 580mm in length. And last of all, we've got our accessory cables. So there's two cables, both of which have 5 connections each. So we've got 4 SATA cables on each one and a small gap between each one. So perfect for if you're building some sort of NAS or a device which has lots of SATA drives all up together. And on the very end of the cable, you have a Molex connector. Again, 2 of these cables, so you've got 8 SATAs and you have 2 Molex. Now, of course, with any power supply, yeah, cables are one thing and design is another, but what protections does it actually have? So other than having, like we've already said, a 5-year warranty and also Cybenetics Silver or 80+ bronze rated, You've also got active power factor correction. You've also got overpower protection, overcurrent protection, short circuit protection, surge inrush protection, over temperature protection, under voltage protection, and also no load operation. So in terms of specs themselves, it basically ticks a lot of boxes. I would have expected to see this 50, 60 pounds, possibly more. Again, CCL here in the UK, this is not affiliated or sponsored or anything like that. They're doing this at the moment for $39.99. So I'll try and get this video out as quick as I can. So if you are thinking of building a more cost-effective rig, or a budget rig, dare I say it, then I think this is actually a cracking choice. Especially again, for those flip builds, this is going to be great. And also that 5-year warranty does give you that peace of mind. Also, for those of you that are wondering who actually makes this, so Deepcool actually subcontract this out to a company called Heli Technologies. Now, Heli Technologies are pretty well known in the industry. They make quite a few power supplies for various different companies, and they basically make pretty decent quality ones, but at a lower price point, which is something we like to see. And it does seem to be one of those things that Deepcool and other brands are kind of pushing the market in that direction, where we're getting higher quality power supplies which meet better standards but coming in at a lower price, which is something a year or even 2 years ago was something we could only dream of, because prices were absolutely astronomical. Whereas I think there's been a little bit of a cool off in PC building, and manufacturers are starting to recognize this. And also, depending where you're living in the world, obviously Deepcool is a company from a certain part of the world, so actually importing them into places such as the United Kingdom and parts of Europe, etc., potentially there are lower tariffs, so they can sell them at a cheaper price, which is excellent. Unfortunately, if you live in the United States or some other areas, potentially you might not get such good value from these Deepcool products, but certainly I will put some affiliated links in the video description so you can check out local pricing near you. And sincerely, I think this is definitely well worth checking out. And also, do check out the Hardware Busters review. I'll also post that in the video description below for you to check out. But I think that's going to pretty much wrap this one up. This has been the Deepcool PL750D. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.